because Nightmare actually does have a good degree of burst.
I do like So even went for the double amulet just to get the extra mana regen, so you don't have to rely on the enchanted talisman. Some extra armors with the boots as well. But again, Wishing Lantern is going to be the key item that allows So to gain a bit more control over Openar, who's just camping this mid bush.
Up TNC jumps in, goes for the Oki Shadow Kill with a stolen RWM, and instantly Soul is gone.
Couldn't even respond at all. That's Sky Piercer stack again. TNC actually didn't find the stack, which is unfortunate, but still, right? They find a kill and now
Penalty
one more.
zone on 2, into the glorious pathway, Spear of Alpha to escape Raging Sandstorm lands on 2. It's pretty good, but mega kill for Sunshine already. Make that double. Tree of Destruction lands, Vengeance used, but Offer is 1v5, and that is 4 members of Nightmare down for the count.
Just cannot fight without So. You need the Eve. The real world manipulation is what allows Nightmare Esports to create a controlled environment, and without it, Ofanar just runs wild like a pack of wolves looking for their prey. Now they're looking for Cammy. No penalty zone from Alien, so no commitment, but Lord will go over to Ofanar, and this is them having a vice grip over the game. Let's look at the instant replay presented to you by Kadia. Great penalty zone from Alien, the glorious pathway to basically block Jasmine out. Nightmare Esports tried to force the fight, but once more do not have the resources to do anything.
Nightmare Esports definitely did not want to fight there. Great job by Alien to punish them for standing a bit too far forward when they clearly didn't have their battle utils anymore. Once Soul was gone, Nightmare needed to shift into defensive play.
It definitely did. Even right now, I think it's tough for Cammy, right? He's been getting some space, but that space has quickly shrunk. Bot tier 2 should fall. The jungle is completely plundered by Openar. So again, like a bunch of wolves, they're feasting right now. It's a buffet for the Turkish team.
They look very comfortable right now. 5k gold lead, not actually that big at 10 minutes, but a 13-2 kill score shows you how heavily they've been dominating Nightmare. Glorious Pathway cuts them off behind a beautiful flicker penalty zone on 3 members. RWM comes out, Sunshine from the flank. Winter Crown used by Alexi in the mid lane, but he's not going to be able to survive. Apex picks up that kill. Spear of Destruction whiffed completely. The rest of Nightmare still alive though, so they can hold their inhibitors.
That's the key item I've been waiting for. Wishing Lantern for So at 11 minutes into the game. It does feel slightly bad that it took him this long, but better late than never. And I gotta say, Sunshine's positioning is immaculate. He noticed that Nightmare Esports were funneling into that mid side, so he came in with the entropy from the right side of the fight, and Nightmare had no resources to even force out the Purify or force him to retreat. This 5-0 Natan, Holy Crystal as the third item. We talk about that, accelerating the critical mass timing, and he is now at that point.
1.6k ahead of the enemy gold laner. Jasmine walking up the scout, and he is gone. That's what we talked about. Monster kill for Sunshine. When you have this Holy Crystal, you do so much damage.
Oh my god, just blew right through Jasmine's health pool. This is a choco. Openar, they are just going to keep Nightmare Esports on their side of the map. Basically lock them in the base, right? They can keep shoving the wave, and once that Lord comes up, it is Lord time.
Lord up in another 45 seconds, but Openar probably don't even need it. We see the entropy come out. RWM double death box, and it looks like So the one losing killing spree for TNC as he picks up Cammy on the other side of the map as well. 3 members of Nightmare gone. Top inhibitor taken out. Sunshine 704 on the Natan. Too easy for Lexi. Gonna clear up the wave. Jasmine has to flicker away, but TNC's just gonna follow him like a shadow in the night. Mega kill for the Hayabusa.
Nightmare only have one last chance, but I think Ofanar can just run it down.
And too easy for Lexi. He is not even an obstacle. Winter Crown will only delay the inevitable as Ofanar take him out. And the crystal now wide open. Opper and So are back, but Opper's already gone. That's a legendary streak. Bury the nightmares and let the sun shine through as Ofanar take game number 1.
It is a fantasy, a dream come true for Ofanar in Game 1, but for Nightmare Esports, they still have to grapple with their demons. A complete massacre in Game 1. It should be rated R with how brutal Ofanar executed that mid to late game. It felt like everything was going the way of the Turkish teams. And unfortunately for our Laos representative, it is just the structures falling apart from the get-go.
they've already stated themselves that they feel ready to take on M6, that they feel even stronger than they were in the previous season, and we are seeing that on full display. One more game and Ulfhednar will have 2 clean sweeps and a very clear path towards the wildcard finals.
Absolutely, and not just that, they also would sign the elimination warrant for a Nightmare Esports. So one win is going to decide the fate for 2 teams. Again, we mentioned about the possibility of that setting us up for a Grand Showdown tomorrow when Ulfhednar takes on DFYG. But for Nightmare, if the run ends here, it's not only history repeating itself, but at the same time, it's going to be heartbreak for a team that has always came so close.
It's always been right before the finish line. Nightmare Esports and many other Laotian representatives have been wanting to show what they can do on the international stage. But with the competition getting more and more difficult every single year, we can tell the evolution of Mlbb and just how big the gap you have to bridge is to truly stand on that international stage.
Well, I gotta say, Ulfhednar definitely set the bar. A perfect game for Sunshine. Deathless on the Natan. Last we checked in, he got Holy Crystal as 3rd item, and he proceeded to just completely destroy the entirety of Nightmare. We also pointed out that the roamers need to be at the tip-top condition, especially Jasmine. That Khalid didn't have a good game at all.
Yeah, Jasmine, I think he started off the game trying his best. He did actually find some good angles, but Ulfhednar was always packed up quite tightly. Even though they're not playing super close together, you can see that they're positioned in a way where backup can always arrive when it is necessary, because they're aware that Nightmare Esports is going to be forced to do something at some point, and a mistake will be made in positioning the longer a status quo is dragged out.
Look at the item builds as well. First of all, it's a 22 kills to 2. So Ulfhednar essentially almost got a perfect game. I would even say that this is a perfect game, despite 2 devs, one on the side of Alien and one for Apex 47, but the other front line is doing their job. And look at Sunshine, right? Basically almost decked out at pre-13 minutes.
Only 1 item away from being full build at this stage of the game is insane. Nearly 11k gold in 12 minutes. Shows you how comfortably he was farming. It's usually dangerous to let a marksman free farm in their lane, but it's even more so if they're joining fights and getting kills off of it. And that's exactly what Ulfhednar was setting up for.
And I do like how they have been able to do the push and pull in these team fights. Every single time Oppa shows up, they're just gonna drag him deeper and deeper into the fray. Every time Jasmine tries to go for a Raging Sandstorm, you always have to deal with Rosa with that Shadow Strike. To terrify against melee heroes is so oppressing.
That's why it's quite risky to go for a combination like this. If you have an Eve and a Phoveus, your goal is basically to split the fight in half. You want some people in the death box, you want Phoveus to be distracting the rest. But if Ulfhednar are the ones controlling it, if they're the ones pulling Opper towards them while entirely avoiding the RWM, and I really like the way they use the Valentina prematurely too. So yeah, Ulfhednar, the experience shines through. They made sure Nightmare couldn't play for their teamfight win conditions and were in full control the whole time.
Even when you look at the emblems, the talents for the side of Ulfhednar, they only really have that one Wilderness Blessing on Rosa, but it really didn't matter too much because they got a decent lead in the beginning. And when you want to talk about Death Ball, this is it right in front of your eyes, right? All the objectives going their way.
The only thing that Nightmare came up on top on was the turtle, but we did see a few times of Ulfhednar willingly giving the turtle away to try and make something else happen. Especially with that first turtle where TNZ wanted to go for the timing, give it away to Lexi and try to target Cammy. He didn't get that kill unfortunately, but the idea is there.
Yeah, the idea is definitely there. Couple of close calls in the early game, especially that one moment where we witnessed that Ulfhednar had 4 low health members but no cleanup crew from Nightmare. And a lot of times, you also pointed out, Sadafa, that Ulfhednar, they're forcing Nightmare to take fights that they're not willing to take, right? Nightmare just wants to fall back, but Ulfhednar kept on going. And that special mentions to Alien on this Terizla.
Alien wants to be the initiator, and I think that is a perfect position to be in. But I do also worry a little bit about the hero pool. Once the Cho was gone, he immediately went back to good old reliable Terizla. What happens after next? What happens when a team pops up that actually does contest this particular hero? Are his pockets deep enough?
It's a question that we probably would see in the Swiss stage because right now he's not really pressured to go deeper than that. MVP for game number 1, we gotta give it to Sunshine. He's the ray of hope for Openar. 8-0-6 on this Natan, completely uncontested in game 1.
I mean, what's the ultimate enemy of your nightmares haunting you in your sleep? It is when you break the curtains wide open and the sun shines right through. Sunshine being the ray of light, like you mentioned, Husky, that allows Ulfhednar to break through Nightmare Esports. He is the win condition, he is the late game carry, but he came online so quickly that late game wasn't even a question.
He reached late game when everyone else was still trying to get to that mid game, right? And it was a conscious decision from Ulfhednar to opt for a Natan instead of a Beatrix after seeing a Bruno banned out. So I do like the approach that Ulfhednar has brought. This is one of those moments where Nightmare Esports fell ever so short. The last minute Ogi Shadow Q from TNZ to avoid certain death really set the stage for how precise Ulfhednar are with their movements.
Yeah, I think we could see from these highlights very clearly that something Nightmare Esports needs to figure out is when it is time to call it quits. There are times when you just have to admit a loss and back away before you lose even more. And there were way too many fights where they lost a crucial member such as Soul and kept trying to push the issue. Ulfhednar, of course, made it difficult for them to escape. But there's just times when you gotta run.
Yeah, especially when you fight into this death ball comp. You're not only dealing with Alien, who has a penalty zone, you're dealing with a high loss who is essentially negating a lot of your offensive stats, right? You can't really move, you don't attack as much, and unfortunately Moskov just isn't ready to fight. So in this case, I think Ulfhednar again came well prepared. Now the question now goes to Nightmare. The adjustments for game number 2.
The thing is, I feel like Nightmare Esports' draft actually wasn't bad. There were clear win conditions, there was good scaling overall, but Ulfhednar just outpaced them a lot. I feel like they needed to be able to take advantage of the few objectives they did get a little bit more, maybe be willing to play a little aggressive, and then towards the mid game when they are on the back foot, be willing to play more defensive. They're kind of stuck in a weird middle ground where they're trying to push to make something happen at the wrong times.
Yeah, I do like the point that you brought out about cutting the losses, but when we talk about cutting losses, we also gotta talk about how you style yourself up, right? Don't lose to anyone out there, and you can do that with Fairy. When luxury meets gaming, you can do it with Fairy's first M6 Swiss watches, a special jewelry collection for Jusin and Emiya, and brand new champion rings and medals. Follow at Fairy World on TikTok and our website for more updates. I've checked it out yesterday. It looks amazing. Feels like a great gift for your loved ones or even for yourself. You just want to look good, you're in for some accessories. Fairy is the thing.
I mean, we're Mlbb fans, right? We all know how much we spend on in-game bling. So why not spend a little bit on IRL bling, you know? Skins for heroes? No. Skins for yourself.
You're exposing a majority of us, me included, but if you want to spend on in-game bling, you could also do it by using it on the M6 Pass. Again, I want to remind you guys that it is already live from 18th of November to 29th of December. You can participate in the M6 Lucky Gift, join the draw for a chance to win the Claw's new epic skin, Challenges Flare, and Beatrix's new M4 epic painted skin, the Light Seeker. Do not miss this rare opportunity to get the exclusive skins, because if you miss it, who knows when we'll get another chance.
Yeah, it's only for a limited time that you will have access to Beatrix's M4 exclusive skin and Prime skin, so this is your chance to do so if you missed out on it during M4. But game number 2 is going to be happening soon. We gotta set the stakes. If Nightmare Esports loses this one, just like many of the other teams, they will be eliminated from the wildcard, even though there's still technically one more day tomorrow.
It is going to be pretty devastating knowing that you still have to show up, you still have to put up a performance, but you just do not have that opportunity to proceed further, right? You kind of salvage that pride a little bit, but that's the extent of it. And like you mentioned earlier on, Ulfhednar feeling really comfortable. We put a lot of spotlight on Sunshine, and we also got to talk to him. We asked, how did the team stay confident despite the wake-up call at MTC? And Sunshine said, because we've been playing for a long time together, we never really lost our confidence. We just fix our problems and go next. And Apex 47 has been their biggest motivator, and when he screams, everyone gets hyped up.
I mean, a good motivator helps a lot. And yeah, this is a team that has not really shifted their lineup. The chemistry is there, the experience, the way they play together has been finely honed across years of MLBB. So as we jump into the drafting phase for game number 2, let's see if that chemistry can cause a reaction that causes destructive tendencies among Nightmare Esports.
So we know that Apex 47 is the motivator for Openar. Now I wonder who is that man from the side of Nightmare Esports, because you gotta thank your motivator, you gotta thank Apex 47, but you also gotta thank Beyonce, which he forgot in his quote. So I'm gonna call you out on that, Apex. Of course, when we look back at the draft patterns of the teams in Game 1, again, Yves, highly contested. Nightmare Esports, they got it in Game 1, but in Game 2, they decided that they don't want it.
Yeah, they had to pick Eve anyway because this is a hero that you cannot really afford to get left open. That real-world manipulation is such a powerful tool for controlling team fights, but Ulfenar already baited them in that direction by picking the Valentina first. So with it gone from the pool, it's a little less for Nightmare to have to worry about, and they will start by contesting the show straight away.
It was a ban that they kind of pulled through in the first game because it was flexed by Openar yesterday. Well, for Openar, they didn't really make any changes, still the same bans. Now Khalid, Gatot, they're all on the table. We saw that Valentina Hylos opening in Game 1, but Hylos has been banned by Nightmare.
I think banning out Hylos is a really good shout here. That glorious pathway is such a powerful tool to not just engage, but also to split apart fights. We saw it being used to cut off the tier 2 previously, and that just made movement difficult. But with Hylos gone, you will go ahead and snatch up the Gatot.
It does, again, set Openar up for any particular big ultimates that Nightmare Esports will have. So the Aurora comes through, this one is pretty much expected. The Khalid was also an option. We'll see if Nightmare Esports just wants to reveal it, because even when you show the Khalid, it doesn't really tell you too much where the Khalid and Cho will go. Something that Openar demonstrated yesterday. Suyo, though, will be their option.
Well, it is true that picking Khalid with Cho doesn't give you direct confirmation of who's going where. It does mean that you already know that these heroes are Roman EXP. So that allows Ulfenar to still prepare for it somewhat. Looks like they will go ahead and grab the Suyo in advance here. And let's see if Ulfenar want to go for the Alpha counter.
They do take the Harif Alpha, not on that radar for now. It comes down to whether Nightmare wants to ban that hero out. One thing is for sure up to this point, which is Nightmare Esports has not shown that they could put Oppa on that Cho XP, so that Matilda is definitely not a consideration at this point of time. I think Coach Osprey is very aware of that, so they go for the Bruno ban instead. Any heroes that could give Harif a hard time.
Harif is a pretty common lane dominator style hero, not quite as strong in poking compared to something like a Bruno, but that's why you decide to get rid of it, so that Harif can still perform well against other matchups. There are of course heroes that can actually do pretty well against him. Natan can outscale Harif, Iritel can outmobilize Harif, Beatrix is also a safe fallback, so I think that there's still plenty for Nightmare Esports to pick up.
How much homework did Osprey did for this series? Because there's also the Lunox, right? We always look back at Lunox as one of the direct answers to Harif if we get to that point. We'll see if Nightmare has experience with that hero. Nolan gets banned out as the jungler for Openar has not been picked yet. Tianzi's option are going to be limited just a little bit. He still has Hayabusa in the pool. The Ling is always there. We had the Julian as well. We've seen a couple of teams pick that up.
I think if they're going to continue banning junglers, then Hayabusa is the most likely option here, because Ling and Alpha are both somewhat manageable when you have a Cho on your side. Hayabusa would be the hardest person to catch, so maybe, let's see if they agree with me.
I would agree with you. I think Hayabusa needs to go.
Yep.
It's not just based off of Tianzi's performance, but at the same time is how annoying the Hayabusa can be, right? We know that Openar can accelerate the game very fast, and the performance in Game 1, you don't really need Tianzi to do too much because everyone else has laid out the groundwork. So they banned the Joy instead. The Hayabusa through. We'll see if Tianzi will get it again.
I guess Joy is also kind of annoying to deal with, but I do feel like it's a little easier to catch in comparison. So because of that, Hayabusa gonna get locked in by TNC once again, and they're gonna keep Alien's pick a mystery until the very end. Let's see if he does go back onto the Terizla.
There is a 1+ point for Nightmare's current draft. You have two heroes that have ways to do with Hayabusa. Well, Aurora has a passive. Suyo sort of have iframes and damage reduction with the Immortal form as well. So I suppose it's a bit more manageable compared to that Game 1 situation. Now they gotta reveal the last two picks. First of all, is this gonna be a roam show for Jaspin? And what is the marksman gonna be? Is that Lunox a consideration?
I think Lunox
or
would...
Beatrix, I think.
I actually do think Lunox would be a pretty good idea because the Brilliance also helps you deal with Hayabusa somewhat, right? It's already known to be a counter to Harif in lane, but looks like they'll go for the more reliable Natan and the Edith.
Still think Khalid is good for Ofenar. It is open. They do play that Khalid too. So you did point out that Gatot isn't the best engager alone, right? So you need kind of a secondary setup. I mean, there's still Terizla for Alien if he really wants that.
Yeah, Terizla is open. Like you mentioned, the Khalid is still open. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that Alien could go for at this point. He could also pick up the Gatot and become the secondary initiator if they grab something else for Apex, since the Roam hero pool is actually still quite open at this point.
That too. Unless they throw a curveball and go Matilda, but I don't see that happening. At least not in this draft. So the Arlet. Me and LaFell have been talking about the Arlet yesterday. When will we get to see this hero, right? High skill cap, but also one of the biggest playmakers in the current game. And wow, Ofenar will give us the taste. First Arlet appearance on the wildcard stage.
I think this is a very Ofenar type draft. You have the Arlet to start off the fight, then you follow up with the Gatot and high mobility heroes in the Hayabusa and Harif to really play around things. Nightmare Esports gonna have a pretty tough time here, I think, in this game, but they definitely have a solid scaling curve. If they can play well around the Suyo, Cho, and Edith in the early game, then that could set up the snowball they're looking for.
And they definitely have a lot more early damage compared to Game 1, so Nightmare have a chance to actually push this to a Game 3, but Ofenar is going to ride up the wave from Game 1. Let's see if that will continue in Game 2.
The land of Dawn shall bear witness to what could potentially be the conclusion of the conflict between these two opponents here at the M6 Wild Card stage. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys stay in your seats because this is going to be a match worth watching.
It definitely is going to be. Let the suspense build up just a little bit as we'll get a bit more time to talk about the properties of the draft. Again, Nightmare Esports didn't really have the most damage in that early to mid game in Game 1, especially dealing with a Hylos that has an elegant gem. It's just such a tough cookie to cut through. But in Game 2, you got good control of Aurora, you got good damage early with Suyo as well, and not to mention decent ways to handle that Hayabusa if push comes to shove.
So Ofenar will have to try and find ways to play around these angles, which gives a bit more breathing room to Nightmare Esports. Or lest we forget, this is a pivotal game. This is a pivotal match. A victory here is the only way they can keep their chances of going to M6 alive.
Not just that, it also continues to put Laos on the map, especially when you look at the local region, at least for the Mekong region. Their biggest rival has always been Legion Esports or ex-Xeno Zenith, right? It has always been that mountain that they could not summit. And not just that, right now, you got another one to worry about before you even consider moving to the next step. Nightmare, like you mentioned at the start of the series, they always fall short at the finishing line. They always fall short before cutting that ribbon. And if history repeats itself, it is going to be at the end of this game with Nightmare being on the losing side.
It would not be a good feeling, and that's why I hope that Nightmare will put it all on the line here. They've been at the wildcards before. They are not strangers to this stage. They are no strangers to the international scene. This is a lineup with much potential, and if they're able to at least find that stepping stone, they could make things happen.
And it's going to come down to Jasmine on his signature pick, the Cho, which gave them the only game win that they have so far in the wild card, which was against DFYG yesterday at game number 2. putting all their eggs in the Jasmine basket. This is the hero that made Jasmine such a feared roamer in the Mekong region, and to a certain extent on the international stage against some of the up-and-coming regions. But right now, putting it to the test against Apex 47, who has gotten his hand on the Gatot Kaca, it will be kind of that tug of war. It's like mind games, whether you can operate this show to its maximum capacity and find that opening for your team to capitalize on.
It's a hard thing to do when you're on this stage, right? Especially, I think the tournament has been living up to its name as the wild cards. There's just so many things that you have to consider, so many factors that could be unexpected that you have to be prepared for. While some of the teams here haven't quite been able to live up to the opportunity, others have been able to shine and make surprises occur here in Malaysia. So Nightmare Esports, I'm hoping they can replicate that.
At the same time, we just want to inform everyone watching, there's going to be a bit of a troubleshooting from the side of Openar. We appreciate the patience as we figure out the issue and give everyone the best viewing experience. And not just that, make the players feel comfortable, right? You want them to be in the tip-top condition. That's how we deliver the standards of being greater than ever, especially on the world stage. But it also gives, I guess, Nightmare some time to start thinking about the steps to make when you go into that Game 1. Again, we highlighted Jasmine so much. Game 1 felt like he had that glimpse of, I want to make that play, but I wasn't given the room. Now, he gets exactly what he wished for, so hopefully he can pull it off. But we also got a hot topic, and I want to ask you this one. Are we in the era of fighter junglers, or not really?
If the era of fighter junglers refers to Suyo and Alpha specifically, then yes. Otherwise, no, I don't really agree, because it's only these two particular fighter heroes that are actually being played in the meta right now. Otherwise, you still shift quite heavily into assassins, right? We have the Hayabusa, we have the Ling, we have the Nolan. Suyo kind of counts as half assassin as well.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I think the only one I could think of as the third candidate for a fighter, well, not really even a fighter, is the Fredrin, right? It was slightly buff. I know Sujin played it in MPL ID, but I feel like with Alpha around, you just don't feel as good. Maybe Boxdale, like that one was also kind of an old guard, right? Fredrin against Boxdale was a thing, but right now we see the Alpha into Suyo.
In fact, I think I heard somewhere that Baxia right now has the lowest pick rate of all heroes in pubs.
In pubs?
Yeah.
And I thought Cyclops had the lowest pick rate.
No, not anymore. I think Cyclops is actually pretty solid.
Boxer has lower pick rate than more complicated heroes like Arlet.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm surprised.
Because even complicated heroes, people will try to play them. We're not talking about win rate, we're talking about pick rate.
That is true. That is true. I could understand in that degree why Boxer isn't a thing, because I, till today, have no idea how to play Boxer.
You just roll around.
That's what they say, right? You roll with it. But winning is another thing. Though I do miss that era. Like, if you ask me, the perfect scenario would be a mixture of having a decent amount of assassin and a decent amount of fighters / tanks in the jungle.
I agree with you. I think...
When was the last time we had that?
I don't think we've ever had that, actually. I think this is the closest we've ever come to that, because it's always been like assassin meta or tank meta.
That's true. There is one in between though, the Martyrs, but that one is like a very isolated case, right? We see that by Vamos and it was picked 2 times and it had like a 50% win rate. Very small sample size.
Like, I think generally whenever fighters are meta in the jungle, it's only like specific fighters, right? It's not really a fighter jungle meta. Except, I guess, when the game first launched, you know? I think that's the only time, because there weren't really a lot of tanks in the first place then.
Yeah. Special mention to some junglers who still pull out fighter in the jungler, because we got Paquito jungle for BTK and Insidio, which they did pull out, Justinian and Mobazane, which is interesting. But for now, we are going to take a bit of time to troubleshoot the issues, so we will take a short break, but do not fret. When we come back, the Mlbb action between Ofernar and Nightmare Esports will continue. We'll be right back.
lost in the shadows, feeling so small. But I've got a fire, won't let myself fall. Every hit taken, every scar earned, lessons in pain from which I've learned. When the world says I'm done, I'm just starting my run. Through the darkest of nights, I will find. You won't get me down, you won't get me down. I get back on track with a peaceful attack. I always come back around. I'll never back down, no, I'll never back down. A force to behold and it waits to unfold. I always come back around. When worlds converge, you won't get me down, you won't get me down. I get back on track with a peaceful attack. I always come back around. I'll never back down, no, I'll never back down. A force to behold and it waits to unfold. I always come back around, always come back around.
Fight for ultimate glory starts now.
모바일 레전드 M6 スイスウォッチ
Hello Panda, hello Panda, semua suka biskuitnya. Biskuitnya enak, isinya lezat, rasa coklat dan strawberry. Hello Panda, semua suka biskuitnya. Biskuitnya enak, isinya lezat, rasa coklat dan strawberry. Hello Panda, biskuit isi yang enak.
Be making the top 16, but they're gonna have to start off strong here. Even in the first game on Sanhok, they need to pop off if they want to have that opportunity.
I mean, speaking of Sandhawk, right? We heard from the coach right there that they want to get some points on there. Do you think we're going to see another hot drop today from them?
I don't know. I think that hot drops are going to be somewhat resolved. Who was it? I think it was Voin versus I8 Ryan Hartin. That was a little bit of an issue we had, but hopefully that's going to be resolved because Voin is not here, right? So because Voin not here, it is resolved. That just clears out the entire issue. But of course, looking at the leaderboards, Hodrix, as we've seen, every team in the top 8 is from Group Green, which are not playing today. And not going to lie, with the 68 points of 4MV, it is seeming like all teams of Group Green are going to advance into the last chance stage. So yeah, all these teams, good job. You guys made it. GG, well played.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty wild. I mean, I did not expect that at all. I thought we were going to see some teams definitely like biting their nails in Group Green for today. But nah, they're big chilling. We're looking at the second page right here. This is that cutoff, folks. That 16th place. That is where you want to be at a minimum, right, Max?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, right now, looking at the teams on the second page, I would have to say Deke Xavier, Major Pride for me are safe. Hot Troops, I don't expect them to get like a 0-point day. So I think that both of them are going to be fine. But yeah, from 11th place below, it's where, you know, there's some wiggle room. Teams can go down significantly if they have a really bad day, or they can maybe have a big jump up if they just pop off with a chicken dinner here and there throughout these 6 matches for today. So as right now, big surprise for me is still to see Falcons in 15th position. Of course, they only played 6 matches, Hodrix, but like they are maybe in a spot where we could see them fall in the bottom 8, which is not what you'd want to see.
Yeah, this is the teams in the bottom 8 right now. And you can see some big names down here. Vampire, only 3 points total out of 6 matches. An unreal performance. I think Sertani would even just like posted that he was just like shattered that they saw that kind of performance. But I mean, I think he is right. There is still a light at the end of the tunnel. With 6 matches left today, you know, a good chicken dinner might just be their saving grace.
Exactly. I mean, right now they're 22 points behind Loops and FaZe, which are currently in 16th, 17th position, tied for the break-off point for the last chance. So yeah, one win. Literally, Hodrix, if they can get that win in the first, I don't know, 2-3 matches today, that is going to put them back in a position where they can compete for that top 16. But where's the morale of Vampire Esport and IA after their horrendous day one, Hodrix? That's the big question, because if they're unfortunately a bit down under, well, they might have a bit of a rough time getting back up there.
Well, we got 6 matches today. We're going to start off in Sandhawk. Now, you're right. We're going to see some differences in teams. So I think I8 are going to avoid that hot drop, like you mentioned. But I think we also might have a couple of hot drops we will see today. What do you think, Max?
I don't think we're going to have hot drops until the last match, possibly. Like,
sure?
That is going to be a thing. But I don't think we're going to have hot drops. No, I think that teams, at least this early on, like, when do you think hot drops happen here, Hodrix? What are your expectations?
Well, honestly, I'm gonna be looking towards Ruins, right? I mean, you know, Inco, they don't mind a hot drop, you know, and Major Pride also like to drop Ruins. So I think it's still a possibility, and we might see that fight because Major Pride, they've had so many points. They really don't got nothing to lose, right? So they could afford that, right?
Yeah, there's no way they hot drop for Ruins. Like, it's Ruins. It's not that good. Like, please don't do that to yourself. It's not worth it. I mean, I've seen teams hot drop Ruins in the past, Hot Jukes. I think it was in CSA actually with Mad Balls, and even back in Europe, they would fight for Ruins. It's happened in the past, so maybe they're just going to be very stubborn and not give it up here.
Well, Ruins may not be that good, but I'll tell you something that is real good. That's that Infinix GT20 Pro featuring dual chipsets and 144 AMOLED display. It delivers up to 120 FPS, providing teams with outstanding performance and visuals. And we got John Allen there on the screen. I love
Still
it.
there. Yeah, it's my favorite wallpaper. I'm going to keep it, all the time on my device. And I just wake up and I see John Allen and I'm instantly having a great day. So, good job, John. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you guys want to have an even better day, of course, make sure you guys follow all the socials, hit the subscribe button. You guys know what to do because, man, you see some really awesome content behind the scenes.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool dances. They gave some lollipops to the players today after doing a fist bump. Like, wait, why am I not there? I want my lollipops too. What's happening?
Come on, dude, right? It's like going to the doctor's office, right? I want my treat. Let's go. By the way, guys, speaking of treats, right, go ahead and get one of your tickets here for the grand finals in London. Oh, that's going to be so exciting. There's going to be some exclusive merch there, all kinds of goodies. To go ahead and get that as well. So, man, dude, today is the day where I heard that you were battling the dragon last night, right?
Yeah, I fought it like 2-3 times last night. I was facing the frozen fury in the caves under Erangel, and unfortunately, I gotta say, I not only got knocked by the dragon, Hot Jukes, I got flushed by the dragon afterwards. Bro, he was savage. It was like, I felt like I was playing against Alpha 7. What's going on? So, pro tip to you guys out there, when you're facing this dragon, just keep moving all the time, because if he combos you, like, you are done. So, like, you need to make sure you're moving, because no movement equal you're out of that. You're done.
You gotta see more movement. That is a fact, dude. Let's get it going. Let's take a look at our teams to focus. Now, I picked the 3 teams at the bottom, right? I mean, why wouldn't I? Because at this point, they're the ones in the real hot seat. You got Vampire, who need to start off strong. I8 need to get some points in Sandhawk. And, I got to show some love to my boys Inko over there in America. I got Juancho there. I know that we got some viewer parties of the Juancho fan club, but these guys, I think, need a little bit of a miracle run as well.
I mean, as of right now, they got 15 eliminations, but where are the placement points for Inko? They have 0. They have 0 placement points. But for me, I'm going to go a little bit on the higher side of the rankings here, Hot Jukes. I'm going to be going for Falcons, FaZe, and Tiamba. I mean Falcons because I'm the #1 Falcons fan still, until PMGC maybe fails, but we know what these guys can do. But FaZe, realistically, Hot Jukes, my kind of breakdown for them is I have a lot of hope for them going into Miramar specifically, because Stalwart's not here anymore. They can revert back to their previous drop of Picardo and play the game plan they prepared initially heading into this year's PMGC. So because of that, I think that FaZe, if they're in a position where they can compete for top 16 going in the last 2 matches, there's a very, very good chance we could see them do a final push in top 16.
Ooh, that'd be interesting, but I'm honestly a little bit worried when it comes to FaZe, right? At least when it comes to a little place called Sandhawk in particular, right? Because in this first match, we know they're going to like to drop in that trifecta area, right? Well, there's another team that likes to drop in that trifecta area, and that is Zeus Esports. So, I mean, I think that there is a possibility we see 2 kind of hot drop scenarios here off the rip.
Yeah, I mean, currently, with that kind of hot drop, I think Zeus should be the one to maybe give it up, because FaZe are, of course, tied for 16th with 25 points. So normally, the losing team, I'd always recommend Hot Jukes, if they're involved in an early hot drop, it's to have the team that's the lowest in the rankings give it up. We've seen that happen with FaZe versus Stalwart over Picardo, and I think we should see something similar here. So I think Zeus should be the one to move, or something that's very feasible with trifecta on the river, Hot Jukes, is you can have the 2 teams kind of share it, like one team drop into the northern side and one team drop into the southern side, and you just kind of have that agreement that if it goes to an island, maybe a team can just go a little bit deeper and it facilitates your rotate. I've seen that happen before, but because every point counts so much, I don't think that agreement is going to be of the hour, of the occasion, Hot Jukes, for today's 6 matches.
Yeah, I mean, we see it plenty of times, right? I mean, you can see right now looking at the players, right? They all have that kind of hot drops there, and you can see right there, that little area, those 2 stickers mighty close to each other. And because at the end of the day, these guys, they know what's on the line, right? It's their entire years of work that could end right in just a second here at the end of the day today. So, they want to avoid those hot drops pretty much at all costs, because it's just not beneficial, right? You get that hot drop, the chances of you being able to get all 4 players without losing one is so low. So, I hope that these guys did kind of, get together, make those agreements, because at this stage, I mean, we're literally at the survival part of the survival stage.
Yeah. And the thing is, you don't even have that opportunity where, you can afford to have maybe one hot drop on your Wrangle, on your first, on your Sanark, or even on your Miramar, because sometimes it gets resolved after that first game, like, we didn't think we'd clash, like, let's fix it. You don't have that wiggle room. If you fail one big game, that could be your opportunity for top 16 down the drain instantly. So you need to make sure that that was fixed ahead of time, that you know exactly where teams are going to drop, how they're going to rotate, and you avoid it like the bloody plague going in these matches, because one bad game could be the nail in the coffin for you and your team.
Yeah, for sure. Now, there are a couple teams, right, that performed really, really well on their first day. Okay. Now, going into this one here, they have so much room, and I'm talking about a team like Major Pride. They had 50 points right now, so they have that opportunity to pretty much decide who they want to see in that last chance stage. Do you think that that's something that they're going to be keeping in mind here?
I think they'll do that towards the end of the day. I think hot drops for the first 4 matches is just not realistic, to be completely truthfully honest. I think towards the end of the day they can we see potentially Vampires a threat if they're starting to climb, or maybe Falcons, like these teams that have a lot of global experience, hot tricks. I think those are the teams you want to hit hard on the head, get rid of them as soon as possible to maybe have an easier chance in last chance, and of course if you make it to grand finals, have hopefully an easier time there. So yeah, pick and choosing for like your DX, your Major Pride, even maybe IWNRX and Mir and Sejong could be a big option as we reach the end of today, because again, it's going to be intense, and under pressure some teams might just be willing to go for those big plays to hopefully eliminate the competition early on.
Oh boy, folks. Well, let's get it going here. The pressure is definitely on. We are locked, loaded. You can see these folks are in the lobby, ready to go. Will we see that Northwestern Circle? I don't know, but here we go. Match number 1, last day of the survival stage. Let's take it on to some of the best casters in the business, John Allen and Blake.
And we are going to be getting all up in the business of this Sandhawk game with the removal of the threatening, oppressive, dominant force of Group Green. It's Group Red and Group Yellow's turn to try and step into the limelight. So far, I think it's undeniable that Group Green has been the most solid group in the survival stage. If you disagree with me, you are unfortunately wrong on that front. But today, we're not going to be seeing them. Who will be able to take that glory away?
You've just angered a lot of people right there. I imagine there's going to be people in your DMs telling you off, telling you that you are wrong, that they are right. I've got some things to say about it. This is the problem, though, is that there is a huge amount of variance, a huge amount of contextual factors that go into this one, and that schism between Group Green and Group Red and Group Yellow is certainly there, and it's because Group Green comes off a very fresh performance from their previous week. They were all fighting in a very reasonable lobby, and some of these other groups have been absolutely dumpstered by some of the strongest squads over in Group Red and Group Yellow. Today is going to be the weirdest day, though, John. This is going to have a tremendous effect on the rankings in terms of just the fact that Group Green is out. Now there is so much more opportunity for these teams to score points. So we've done the projections, we've done the calculations in the back end. But in my opinion, although those calculations and projections are very valid and useful, I don't think things are going to play out any way that we can predict stat-wise today.
It's really difficult. I mean, to call any individual team making that rise, absolutely, but it's just impossible. We are not going to see a Northwest Circle, of course, on this map. Why would we do that? We've seen it so many times. Come on, we're going down south this time. We are still splitting it in the middle with the river across Painan. Looks like in Cilio we're going to make FaZe this time pretty tricky from the trifecta compound there. A flex out from Painan, actually making a big impact and potentially a big opening for teams like Zeus over on the Northwestern Island to be able to make their way on through. But you're right. I mean, projections are just that. They're projections, and their bearing on reality can be tenuous, especially over only 6 matches played. And that is a massive amount of volatility.
Well, look, man, I really do believe in statistics and how calculations play out. We actually can go through them a little bit later in terms of where we think teams are going to end up. And I think that generally in a 16-team format where teams are all performing to a relative consistent standard, yes, that's absolutely fine. But here in survival stage, removing now the strongest group from the lobby and also a group that has terrorized a lot of our teams here, John. Yeah, we are going to have a massive change in performance because some teams that were struggling over the past 2 days might suddenly step up with the absence of Group Green. I'm very, very interested to see how things do play out. Right now, Loops is our bubble team at 25 points, but you can see on the right-hand side of your screen there that a lot of teams are hovering around that area already. I think this initial game is going to be very important for at least one team in terms of safety and where they can lock themselves up in terms of the standings, because it is going to be a case of every single match might be the match that confirms a team into that top 16. Getting that chicken dinner will be absolutely essential. Some teams might do it off the back of 6-7 eliminations per match, but each chicken dinner likely will be an alarm bell signaling that a team has made it into the last chance.
Could potentially be Zeus under a lot of pressure here. This is really disastrous for them. Their maneuvers on the western side have been cut short, and that's Team Queso to be able to do a lot of the damage to them as well. That is a lot of points added early. 4, and they get away clean. All of them still alive and in such a strong spot in this circle. Team Queso onto a winner, maybe.
Zeus getting cut out this early on is really bad for them. Actually, at 15 points, getting no points on their Sandhawk makes their next run very hard. They need to get 45 points roughly over the next 5 matches. That's not an easy result to go for. That's almost big games every single match. So we will see just exactly what the Turkish team can get done in the future. But right now, Team Queso extremely happy with that result. Inko, one show very low inside the building with an active alongside him.
Trying to hop around past these bullets, whizzing past them. They're just the same bullets that you'll see in your games, but they are far more deadly in this situation. Teams on the tables so unwilling to give ground, but they don't really have a choice when everyone else is bearing down upon them. Falcons, they've managed to transition from boot camp, but they're still on the northeast side. A lot of teams opting to go southwest, but not Getso Roy, not IWNRX. They're going to fight around the cave mound.
They leave themselves pretty exposed over towards that eastern side at least, but it is a good landing point in terms of vision around the map. To siphon some of that information off is very nice. In terms of the rankings though, 9th place being 58 points is worrying. Some of our squads. And I mean, especially so for 4MV. What did they end up on yesterday? Was it 64 points? Am I correct in saying 63?
68, I want to say. Yeah, 68 points for 4MV. So that's the low end of Group Green.
Yeah, so 10 more points would put you ahead of 4MV. And 2 teams are very close to hitting that marker, with Major Pride and DX Xavier already at 58 points and 50. So we could be cutting teams out relatively fast, depending on how well Major Pride and DX Xavier can do. Both teams have already had good Sandhawks in the past. Major Pride used to be known as the team for Sandhawk. They had a very different team back then, but still Elementrix, Becca, both are very experienced on this map in terms of playing on the northwest side. We do head down towards the south though, so it will be a slightly different story for them.
Yeah, there seem to be Major Pride already up to the coastline in a decent position, unless it goes over towards the cave this time around. DX Xavier, and you're talking a bit about Major Pride, and DX Xavier in general, I think have been the most impressive part of this lobby. You can see the difference right between 10th and 11th. They are definitely clear ahead. And DX Xavier currently has the highest point average in the entire lobby, which is crazy considering that day was entirely against Group Green, who did so much work against the rest of the lobby. And at the moment, they're looking good to top the tables. If they can keep up that pace here, they're moving in from the north side. Depending on the circle, they could have a really solid spot on the hills to the east of Hainan. The cave battle going to continue to rage on. We had Getzero and IWNRX rocking up there early, but Loops and Vampire going to try and join it. Likely that Tiamba will see a slice of that too. This is a nasty circle shift blank. Look at the amount of water that's eaten in by that docks area.
Yeah, run Bantai is struggle bus scenario here. Great nades from Neil though, over to Getso Roy, finding 2 off the back of it. Now looking over towards Porsche and his teammate Car. Very, very disgusting stuff. And a second one over the top. Goodness me, Neil.
He's going straight through him. Doesn't even need to see him, just launching these nades in. Perfect for Loops. And at such a crucial time as well. They've got 2 elims already now. They're looking to rack up those further 3 elims, from the nades that Neil found. And they are a bubble team, Blank. They were neck and neck with FaZe at the start of today. So starting off with a good day, with FaZe losing a player early, playing on the outside still, by the way, by Ruins. That could be great news for Loops and Loops' fans.
Major Pride, though, doing their best over towards the position. Made a very quick rotate down towards the southeast side. Now, it has worked out, honestly. The Falcons, on the other hand, very much not so. Down 4 players already in 15th place, only getting 1 elimination off the back of this game. Vampire also lost a player. Now, for Vampire, it is most likely done for them. I think they're one of the few teams that we can kind of call out here. To put it into perspective, they would need a 10-point game every match for just a tiny sliver of a hope to get in at 63 points. I do not see Vampires making it in unless they have, which they always keep in the back pocket, those comeback moments. And I think that is something that Vampires very much known for, but losing a player early doesn't bode well.
Losing Stoned early on, but they are in a position that is not unlikely to see a later stage of this game. But the difficulty is, of course, leaving here. Look at Loops' lineup on them. There's no way, unless they find a pick over towards the high ground, that they can make too much of a move. But actually, Loops are going to retreat a little bit, and Vampire take shots, harrying them as they fall back slightly. IWNRX on the far side of the cave hill will be that roadblock to the rotate from Loops. And actually, on this circle, Loops is kind of more trapped than Vampire, weirdly enough, even though they have oversight onto it. Vampire closer to the middle. Loops has to rotate either through IWNRX, Inco, or Vampire. So they have to take a fight on this next rotate.
That next rotate will be extremely important as well, considering we're kind of on this crossing, right, where we have the river passing through Camp Charlie. Most likely teams will have to move down towards the southwest or back up towards that northeast. And Cave is very populated right now. It's a crowded area. You know, it's uncomfortable and a little bit hot over at that position. Dick Xavier making a pretty wild rotate through, but maintaining the sightlines away from the rest of their squad. So they do make it through with all 4 players, though they take a heavy lick of damage. There's 1 player at least getting knocked on the back lines.
Yeah, they give up Lamborghini, but that is a price they seemingly are willing to pay. That is a nasty circle. Oh my god. The Bantai shift. This is about, I want to say, like 60% water in this circle right now for stage 4. People are going to be getting wet, and Getzo Roy going to lead the charge, going for a dunk first with Carr.
In terms of consistent performances, this cuts it out of the question anymore. It's never going to be consistent with a circle like this. You had to pray and hope that you got the circle shift off the back of it. And Team Queso, very happy with their position. Although in the past, we've seen Team Queso be cut down before, completely shut down on strong positions on the map. Now is the time for Team Queso more than ever at 26 points into this game to really extract some big value out of this one. Get themselves up to 40 points. Suddenly, they're looking so much happier going into the rest of today. Now, the question is whether Team Case can actually get that done, because the amount of times they've been backstabbed and just allowed it to happen, it's a little bit too frequent for me to like personally. Inco now sending nades over towards Mirin Sejong, who have had a massive dip in performance.
Nades over from Inco towards Mirin Sejong. Hoxie down, Seiwu can't really spend too much time going for this res, and another nade in may just make it impossible. The final tick down, doesn't have the time to get to his teammate. Mirin Sejong losing a player. Teams trying to make that crossing, trying to make it work, and Inco holding on to their slice of it. Vampire, this is still over on the eastern side of the river, and Lutz opted to go for that direction for the fight. Get towards the river. Vampire still have 3, but Schweppes has been taken down by a nade. A double knock. 1 from the nade, 1 from the sidelines, and in hops Newsy. Schweppes can get res, and the Vampires may just live to fight another battle.
Really good stuff. For Vampires, that is so important. IWNRX are now rocking up over towards cave side, looking to control this position like 4 Grizzly Bears here from the cave. Looking down towards Vampire, who is the prey. They do have that high ground to work with. These teams need to move, importantly. Schweppes attempts to find a sideline angle, but the smoke dissipates at a bad time. At stage 3, this will start to hurt quite a bit. They need to find some kind of opening off the back of this. They have vehicles, but what a nice angle there from Zedwolf, all the way off towards that northern side.
Having a high ground, off angle, Kind spots Tony K, and the blue zone's upon them now. It's only stage 3, but Blank, the landmass available here, this is a stage 5, pretty much. This feels really nasty. The Camp Charlie situation only going to get worse from here. IWNRX trying to get to the coastline. Sure, you can invest a lot in taking down Vampire, but they are kind of throwing away the rest of their game. They're committing to this side to get these Elim points, and if they're able to get the rest of them, they're up to 5 on the game, which most likely would be enough to get to last chance if you can keep up that average per match. Circle pops, and it is going to fully confirm down to that southwest side, so no slice of it for Paragin left. DXavier managed to make a cross, and over the side we go. Camp Charlie on the north edge, but Bantai, a major feature.
Massively. I think for Vampire, it's most likely done and dusted here, but they will double their point scoring with that knock over towards Zedwolf. A double first aid kit, which I did not see coming through. They were both on 1 HP, essentially, John. Out comes Frozen. Good shot out the side of the vehicle. 4 points total. I thought it was all done there for Vampires, but somehow, miraculously, they make it out. And now we're looking heading towards the water. Potentially live this game out a little bit further. Schweppes immediately diving down towards the deeps because they need to get deep into this game.
Everybody's going to have seen that crash. Paragin, the backstop for DXavier. You can see the forward 2 players playing up to the cliffs. They're also going to be aware of this. I don't think there's a way that Vampire get away from this one. Paragin's going to have to regroup at some point. Team Queso have oversight with Melodious, who's on a wide flex out, and there it goes. That's Vampire getting eliminated. The points going to DXavier. They have 4 points now, and that is a spot as well across the way from Major Pride in Camp Charlie towards Paragin. So DXavier, 2 players left.
6 points for Major Pride and 4 for DXavier. Both place themselves in a really good position here to qualify. They're still both in 9th and 10th place respectively, but that might change when it comes down to those placement points that come through. But 10 teams still in this one. IS-I-8, they said it was all about mentality. I can only agree because things do go from bad to worse. If you lose horrendously on a Sandhawk, it can kill how you think about the rest of your game, really, in terms of the upcoming matches. But it's a nice outside chance here for ASI8 over on the western side, John. I actually do like the position. It's going to be a little bit difficult and will require them to eliminate some of the opposition up towards their north and south side, but I think they can do it.
They don't have too many chances to take a dip in performance on these games. I mean, you're talking about Vampire needing maybe 10 points every single match, right? They've just only gotten 4 in this one. For ASI, it's not too far off either. Sure, maybe you reduce that to an 8, but it's still really, really tenuous, and I'm not sure that they can do it, given their performances that we've seen from them on their last day of gameplay. We'll see if they can stand tall here. This wide flex from Team Queso now sits straight in the middle of this circle.
What?
A big pickup on the picture-in-picture there with FaZe. Able to keep Venturas in, moving in along the side, and BTR not able to handle it. Unaware, maybe, but danger is spotted. Mela now the last to go for the fight. It's against Satar. The shot's not quite connecting, but the last one does, and BTR may be able to get the full reset. They've got 27 seconds to get everyone back up and going.
Such an incredible fight there from Venturas. I'm surprised he didn't flush any of those targets, though. I think you got to assume that you're going out at that point. Melo was a little bit far behind, and just getting the flushes might have been the better option. You're right, BTR might be able to get full reset. He's looking a little bit tough there. ASI8 looking to clear out that northern side, like I was saying earlier. Noki taking a couple of shots from the sidelines, tickling away at him. We'll be able to get back, and 7 first aid kits indicate this man is going to be living for a while.
I mean, see how much longer. But that is a swift reverse there. Nicely done there. Finding some style on the backup. Does go down though, unfortunately. A shot is threaded through despite some fancy maneuvers. The high ground that Team Queso has is so powerful with 2 players there. BTR going to look to try and sweep along that ridgeline, assault it from that sidelines. Melodious now trapped in this split, and Team Queso may have held too much ground here.
For Melodious, I do like his position in terms of holding out other teams, but it has got to the point in time where he's like, oh crap, I cannot leave. Like, I am stuck here on the northeast side. There's no way I'm regrouping. And this is what we talk about with Team Queso. Sure, they've got 6 eliminations, but this should have been a much bigger game, right? I think they could have easily held 4 players. I think going for a split on this type of circle is the wrong decision, John. Purely off the back of the fact that there's no real strong chance to regroup with your squad come stage 5, stage 4 with the amount of angles that are held around the map. So for Team Queso, they could have had 4 players down towards Collega as well as Papi Potro, and now they cut that out. But the question is, how much longer can they live this one through with ASIA being able to get over towards that western side? Very nicely done.
Next circle comes on through. We're going southwest. If Melodious can get the regroup, Team Queso should be on a winner here. I don't think there's much more to say about it than that. The approach, though, is fraught with danger. Tiamba will have broadside on that rotate. Team Queso need to try and put Papi Potro into position to deal with it, but then he's got BTR to try and handle as well on this angle. There is a lot of pressure on these 2 players right now, and I think BTR is in prime position to just take this one away from them. If they do, it should be a BTR win.
I like how you quickly went from this is a Team Queso win to this is a BTR win.
Well, it should be a Team Queso win, but only if they can hold it.
Yeah, I mean, as 2 players, it's tough. I think that, you know, the actual crashes will come in thick and fast over towards Team Queso's location. I think the best thing for Team Queso right now is this high ground position coming through from Melodious. Good shots over towards Becca, but not quite able to finish him out. And he's going directly into the waiting arms of Incilio, who do not greet him at all. Just let him pass straight through the door.
They let him on in, but is it into a trap? He's going to hit the deck and maybe get some healing done. No, that is dispatched. And is that coming through from... Yeah, they came through from Team Queso. They managed to take that point away, but Major Pride get 8 elims on the game. They're up to 58 plus, I think, is that 1 or 2 placements there as well. So they are chilling right now. They are going to be putting themselves that much closer to getting a spot into this next one. Xavier also going down with probably somewhere close to 63, 64 points. And again, another team looking good to try and confirm themselves in. Melodious cut down on the regroup, and now is BTR's opportunity.
Yeah, BTR has to play very careful, though, because I know there's multiple teams here hiding out on the western side, and I like the fact that BTR is being cautious on this. They do find XC from Tiamba, who did make it in from the pontoons, and the circle shifts over towards this compound. So all eyes over towards ASIA and Team Queso. The 2-2 split between them, with Incilio holding out in the open ground. BTR should be able to clean this out. Technically, they will need smokes to push up towards these buildings, but with Melodious being out of the picture, they no longer have that alarm bell in the backside here for them, providing that information back across. Tiamba working their way through.
Incilio will be in the way, though, and you can see there's only one route of approach. They'll have to hold out in a 2-2 offensive. Incilio moving in. BTR, remember, they got a full reset. They almost all went down. It was on one fight. Satalis kept them in. And now they've managed to push up to one of the most important positions in this circle. Potentially finding a chicken dinner on the back of it. And if FaZe had taken down 1 or 2 of their players, it could have been completely different. But here we are. This is the reality we live in. The nade from Zuxi. Looking to put even more pressure over towards Team Queso. ASI8, they're down the cliff face, but could also third party.
The matter is here for BTR is a very good read over towards Team Queso. And it starts out strong. They only have a few nades to work with. Papi Potro already very low. Does have to back it off. Good protection there coming through from Collega on the back lines. It's had to move up, but an awesome nade will take down Collega. Papi Potro's next, and BTR claim this compound and are looking very strong. 8 elimination game, though. Good stuff for BTR, though. We'll talk more about after the game concludes, because there is still more to be done with ASIA, Incilio, and BTR, as well as Tiamba, all looking for those top 3 positions.
BTR, they need to establish this perimeter quickly. Satar being on the outside is so important. If he goes down, the wind is out of their sails and they need to be careful. He gets knocked. A step up from QZ gets flushed immediately, and now they need to keep putting pressure forwards if they want to hold on to this circle, because Incilio are moving in. Tiamba controlling that cliffside, and you've still got IQ to worry about. A nade over the top. They step out and Bond goes down. Now they need the hilltop. BTR flexing with 3 players alive. They move on through, and Incilio opts to lock in that second place rather than trying to play for first. IQ is down on the sidelines, right up against the blue zone. Stage 9 closes, and on the cliff faces of Bantai, the final fight will unfold. It's 1 player now left. Fash in a 1v3 behind the vehicle. Nade over the top, goes long.
Won't find him just yet, but BTR on for a winner here. A really good game from BTR overall, and they will finish it out. The read came through when they moved towards that compound because they were so very worried about it, but as soon as they get easy entry into that side building, they know it's a 2-man. There's no world in which case you don't have a forward vanguard in that building if you're playing at 2 or 3 or more players. So the fact they're able to get in there, they immediately set their sights aggressively over towards that second building. Really, really well played to BTR, and that might just give them a chance into qualify.
BTR win, baby! Let's go, man. That'll definitely heat things up here, Max.
Oh, definitely for them. I mean, BTR going to be so happy for getting that win, but can we start off right out of the gate, Hodrick? What a weird circle.
Dude, Southern Circle,
what a weird circle. It's playing mind games with us the entire time. Like, oh, you have 60% water. Now we go back onto Bantai. Oh, no, you think it's going to go downhill? It's going to go uphill onto Team Kesso. Like, it was all over the place, but BTR sweeping the edge, which I have to say, looking at BTR, the edge sweeping playstyle is not something that I really see this team do too often, but the way they did with FaZe, then Team Kesso, it was a thing of absolute pure beauty, Hot Jukes. And you know what, with their position before this game in 14th position, maybe this is the match to qualify them in top 16. That's how many points they were able to secure in this match.
Man, it's got to also do big things for their mental game as well. You know, now they got this big chicken dinner off the rip. They can kind of, I mean, you don't want to relax fully, but I mean, gosh, that big weight on their shoulders has definitely got to be lighter now. Look at the stats right here. Zuxi with 3 eliminations. Satar as well with 3. Dude, I mean, this is exactly what this squad needed.
Yeah, and by the way, and this is something you guys can use in your own games when you're playing Ultimate Royale, is hold on to your utility until the last fight if you can. Like, literally, what was it, 2-3 nades? That's all they needed to clear the entire compound of Team Kesso. Of course, Team Kesso only had 2 players, so it's easier than if it was a proper 4-on-4. But 2 nades, that is all they really needed to clear the entire compound and gain access to the game-winning location of this Sanhok match. Incredible push for them, again, sweeping the southern coastal line versus FaZe. Also, FaZe had some sneaky angles, but BTR instantly understood what was happening, regrouped, and then everyone was doing so much good work here. So, yeah, especially Zuxi, man. My man, 3 limbs here. You know, he's getting back up there. He's getting back to his glory days, Hotrix, and it's great to see that happening live.
Let's go, man. And I'll tell you what, even the casters thought that Team Kesso was going to win, and when they had that big old compound right there for the most part.